The moment I felt that cold splash hit my face mid-bench press, I knew Sandra Peton had finally lost it. There I was, 6 a.m. on a Tuesday morning at our HOA gym, minding my own business and pushing through my third set when our beloved HOA president decided I needed an impromptu baptism. The dumbbell clattered to the floor as I sat up, blinking what I now realized was dollar store holy water from my eyes. Sandra stood over me, wielding a plastic vial like she was performing an exorcism, her rhinestone crucifix necklace catching the fluorescent lights. She screamed with a frenzied tone, "You've got demons in your glutes, Eugene, and this HOA will not be spiritually compromised." More of her sanctified liquid sloshed dangerously close to my protein shake. All I had done was mention that I didn't listen to Christian rock during my cardio sessions. Apparently, that was enough to warrant a full-scale spiritual intervention at the Maple Ridge Estates Community Fitness Center. Let me back up and explain how I ended up getting assaulted with religious condiments at 6 o'clock in the morning. My name is Eugene Hartley, and I'm a 46-year-old IT consultant who moved to Maple Ridge Estates 3 years ago. I chose this neighborhood specifically for its peace and privacy. I work from home, enjoy bird watching, and prefer grilling in solitude. The only time I really interacted with the community was during my morning workouts at the HOA gym in our clubhouse. I had established a comfortable routine of arriving at 6 a.m. sharp when the place was usually empty, allowing me to focus on my lifting without distractions. Enter Sandra Peton, our HOA president and part-time essential oils distributor. Sandra was a 52-year-old bleach-blonde whirlwind of self-righteousness who drove a white SUV plastered with bumper stickers like, "Jesus is my HOA attorney," and, "Pray first, fine second." She had been elected president 6 months ago on a platform of bringing moral values back to our community. At first, this meant things like noise ordinances and keeping yards tidy. But somewhere along the way, Sandra decided that Maple Ridge Estates needed more than just regulations. We needed salvation. The transformation of our gym began subtly. One morning, I arrived to find the neutral radio station had been replaced with a 24/7 praise and worship playlist. I shrugged it off as someone forgetting to change it back. Then came the signs. First, it was, "Modest workout attire encouraged," taped to the mirror. Then, "No secular grunting," appeared above the weight rack. By week 3, we had, "Faith over Fitness," emblazoned on a professionally printed banner across the main wall. When I asked Sandra if the new, "No Satanic Lunges," sign posted by the squat rack was some kind of joke, she actually hissed at me. She literally made a hissing sound like a cat and muttered something about demonic quad engagement corrupting the community space. I thought she was having some kind of breakdown, but no, she was completely serious. The woman genuinely believed that certain exercise movements could invite evil spirits into our HOA gym. Things escalated quickly after that. Sandra started leaving Bibles on each treadmill, bookmarked to verses about the body being a temple. She installed a massive framed painting of Jesus apparently spotting someone doing squats, which she claimed she had commissioned from her church friend who did religious art. The artwork was genuinely disturbing, with Christ's abs visible through his robes as he helped lift a barbell. Then Sandra started targeting me personally. She accused me of being the reason the elliptical machine kept breaking down. When I asked how that was even possible, she claimed with complete seriousness that my aura disrupts divine machinery. She said I emanated negative spiritual energy that interfered with the blessed equipment. Yes, she had apparently blessed all the gym equipment with holy oil one weekend when no one was around. The surveillance started next. I began noticing Sandra conveniently showing up during my workouts, pretending to clean already spotless equipment while obviously recording me on her phone. She would mutter prayers under her breath while I did my sets, occasionally sprinkling what I later learned was holy water on the equipment after I used it. She called it spiritual sanitization and claimed it was an official HOA policy, though no one else on the board seemed to know about it. One morning, I entered the gym to find Sandra had arrived before me, which never happened. She had set up a ring light and was actively filming as I walked in. She immediately started reading from Leviticus while I tried to warm up on the rowing machine. When I politely asked her to stop, she offered to pray the CrossFit into me instead. I declined and suggested she leave me alone to exercise in peace. Sandra stormed out dramatically, shouting that I would regret rejecting the Lord's Gains program, spelled GNZ. I thought that would be the end of it, but I severely underestimated her commitment to forced salvation. Later that same day, I received a certified letter from the HOA. The letter accused me of spiritual disturbance and failing to participate in communal morning devotionals. It claimed I was in violation of the new community wellness guidelines that apparently required all gym users to begin workouts with group prayer. I actually laughed when I read it. This had to be a joke, right? Wrong. The next morning, a county inspector showed up at my door. Sandra had called in a complaint claiming I was modifying the gym structure with unapproved pagan stretches that were damaging the foundation. The inspector, a thoroughly confused man named Jerome, asked me to demonstrate these allegedly destructive stretches. When I showed him a basic hamstring stretch, he shook his head and muttered something about wasting taxpayer resources. Unfortunately for Sandra, Jerome happened to be a practicing Wiccan and took serious offense to her characterization of non-Christian exercise as inherently destructive. He called her aggressively unhinged in his official report and recommended the county look into potential discrimination complaints against the HOA. This was the first crack in Sandra's crusade, but she was far from finished. I decided it was time to contact a lawyer. My attorney, Rebecca Morrison, actually laughed out loud when I showed her the documentation. Turns out Sandra's mandatory prayer circle policy in HOA common spaces violated multiple discrimination and fair housing laws. The religious signage she had installed in the gym was illegal under shared property statutes. But the real kicker was Sandra's unauthorized surveillance of my workouts. That qualified as harassment, especially the footage Rebecca found on Sandra's public Facebook page where she had posted a video of me doing deadlifts with a caption, "This man needs an intervention," and Sandra shouting, "Get behind me, barbell," in the background. The HOA board started panicking when Rebecca sent them a formal notice outlining the potential lawsuits. Members began defecting from Sandra's religious fitness revolution. The Clubhouse Jesus painting mysteriously vanished overnight, though Sandra accused me of stealing it. The Bible treadmill library was quietly removed. Board members suddenly remembered urgent appointments whenever Sandra tried to discuss implementing baptismal font water fountains. Sandra doubled down. She started showing up to every single one of my workouts with different religious paraphernalia. One day, it was a full-sized cardboard cutout of Saint Sebastian, patron saint of athletes. Another morning, she brought incense that set off the smoke alarms. She tried to rename the gym Paradise Fitness and demanded anyone entering sign a statement of faith. She even attempted to hire a chaplain to provide spot checking and spiritual guidance during weight training. The breaking point came when Sandra organized what she called a Muscles for Ministry event without board approval. She invited her entire church congregation to occupy the gym for a 12-hour prayer and fitness marathon. When legitimate residents tried to use their own gym, they were told they needed to accept Jesus as their personal trainer first. The police were called 3 times that day. An emergency HOA meeting was scheduled for that Friday evening. The entire community showed up, filling the clubhouse to capacity. Sandra arrived wearing a white pantsuit that she probably thought made her look angelic, but actually made her look like a televised faith healer. She had somehow managed to wheel in an actual baptismal font that she set up next to the podium. Her presentation materials included a 40-slide PowerPoint titled "Salvation Through Sweat Equity." Sandra demanded the gym be officially converted into a faith and fitness ministry. She proposed mandatory prayer before cardio, scripture readings during spin classes, and communion served at the juice bar. She had even drawn up architectural plans to add a confession booth next to the changing rooms. The woman had completely lost touch with reality. When it was my turn to speak, I simply connected my laptop to the projector and played the security footage from that Tuesday morning. There was Sandra, clear as day, splashing me with holy water while I tried to bench press. The audio was crystal clear as she screeched that I would never bench in heaven without accepting the Lord's love. The room went completely silent except for a few nervous coughs. Then I played the compilation Rebecca had put together of Sandra's harassment, including her social media posts calling me a servant of the treadmill devil, the footage of her trying to perform an exorcism on the leg press machine, and my personal favorite, a video where she claimed that yoga pants were a gateway to eternal damnation. The county representative who had been invited to observe the meeting stood up and said with a tired voice that what we just witnessed constituted assault with a condiment and multiple violations of federal housing law. The board voted unanimously to remove Sandra from her position effective immediately. She tried to protest, claiming they couldn't remove someone doing the Lord's work, but the vote had already been counted. As the meeting concluded, 2 sheriff's deputies entered the room. Apparently, the county had decided to press charges for harassment and disturbing the peace based on the multiple complaints they had received. Sandra's resignation was literally announced via speakerphone from the back of a sheriff's car as they drove her to the station for processing. The entire room could hear her screaming about religious persecution and demanding to speak to God's manager. She was ultimately sentenced to 100 hours of community service and ordered to pay a $5,000 fine. The judge also mandated she attend a sensitivity training program called Faith and the Fair Housing Act, which she failed 3 times before finally passing on her 4th attempt.